Night Demon Yaksha, Part 1. I don't know if your family had some kind of grudge with the feng shui master, but everything built here is detrimental to the homeowners, at best, leading to illness and misfortune, at worst, resulting in death for future generations. The yang dwelling here violates the 5 feng shui killing forms: shape killing, light killing, energy killing, sound killing, and wind killing. It was already past midnight. I strolled along the familiar dirt path. Tonight was the full moon, so its light peeked through the tree canopy. The weather was chilly, and every now and then, a gentle breeze rustled the tamarind leaves lining the lonely road, carrying with it the season's early cold. I slid my hands into my wool coat for warmth, glanced at the dim, gloomy scenery around me, sighed, and made my way toward Auntie Haigu's rice porridge stall. In the distance, under the faint light of a kerosene lamp hanging on a drooping areca branch over the roadside, I could make out a few figures sitting in front of the stall. Auntie Hai's rice cart was parked next to some old tombs built of laterite stone, constantly covered in curling incense smoke. The atmosphere was so eerie and still that people had nicknamed her stall the Underworld Porridge Stand. This region is sparsely populated, with each house separated by several garden plots. The narrow dirt roads haven't even seen electricity, and yet Auntie Hai's porridge stall had been around for nearly 20 years. Every night at midnight, she would quietly wheel out her cart and sell porridge until dawn. I heard she sometimes wouldn't sell a single bowl, yet she remained committed to her trade, enduring the unpredictable weather. As I approached the bamboo table, I realized the figures earlier were Uncle Tu Bien, now in his 50s, living just a few plots away from my house, and sitting next to him was Brother Quach, a few years older than me. I politely greeted them. Uncle Tu looked up, smiled, and said, "Is that you, How? When did you come back without telling me? Sit down here. Just the other day, I was at your house drinking tea with your dad but didn't see you anywhere." I sat down slowly. "I just got back this morning. I missed Auntie Hai's porridge, so I came to grab a bowl and visit her too." I nodded at Auntie Hai. She brought over a steaming bowl of porridge. "You've been well, child?" "Yes, I'm doing well." She smiled faintly, then quietly walked away. Auntie Hai was always like that, sparing with words but very kind. Her face always carried a hint of sorrow. Uncle Tu lit a hand-rolled cigarette, took a deep drag, and gently blew out a thin stream of smoke that mingled with the dim, golden light from the kerosene lamp. The smoke passed through my shadow cast on the uneven stone path. Time seemed to pause for a moment. Brother Quach took a sip of tea, patted my shoulder, and asked, "How, I heard rumors that you can see ghosts. Is that true? I didn't believe it, so I want to hear it from you." Before I could respond, a crashing sound rang out. It was Auntie Hai dropping a bowl of porridge. Her face looked strangely unsettled. Brother Quach pressed again. "Is it true, How?" I awkwardly shrugged and smiled. "People just gossip. Don't believe everything you hear." I quickly changed the topic. "Uncle Tu, why are those tombs always filled with incense smoke? Does Auntie Hai light them?" "Yes, she lights incense every time she comes out to sell. When one stick burns out, she lights another, until she closes shop. Look, she's got dozens of bundles on that shelf over there." Uncle Tu pointed toward the cart. "Are those tombs her relatives?" "I'm not sure, but I think it's more like a respectful gesture for borrowing the space. That way, the spirits won't interfere and might even bless the business." I nodded silently, about to take a bite of porridge when Uncle Tu lowered his voice. "Speaking of those tombs, let me tell you both a terrifying story about vengeful spirits I'll never forget." At that very moment, a cold breeze passed over us, rustling the leaves, adding a mystical edge to Uncle Tu's tale. He raised his sun-darkened, sinewy arm, took another puff, and began. I remember clearly, it was the start of the rainy season. I was still strong then. Every time it rained, us young men would light torches and go out frog hunting. That night, after Auntie Tu had put the kids to sleep, I grabbed my bamboo spear, lit a torch, and slipped through the side wall of our house. Auntie Tu noticed and asked, Where are you going that way? I'm going frog hunting. Where else? You usually go with the guys to the fields near Collective Farm 1. That way leads to the riverbank. Why go there? Too many people went that way. I'm heading over to the land near Collective Farm 5, maybe better pickings there. But what? Say it already, it's late. I heard people say, that river behind the house at night, there's unclean stuff there. Lots of rumors, she stammered. I brushed it off. You and your silly gossip. I'm going. I quietly headed out, sloshing through the water. Back then, it was all wilderness, not like now. I wasn't thinking about ghosts at all. The night was pitch dark, with only frogs croaking and my torch crackling. Occasionally, sparks would fall onto the water with a faint, eerie hiss. I crossed the woods and reached the river, dragged out a hidden 3-plank boat, planted the torch on it, and paddled off slowly. The banks were lined with nipa palms and tall cajupit trees covered in vines. Auntie too had warned me because something tragic once happened there. Years ago, a whole family was murdered in their home and thrown into the river, 5 people in total. No one knew why, though rumors said it was a robbery. Back then, the region was chaotic. They were buried near their house, close to the riverbank, but now there's no trace of their graves. Locals say they've seen 5 headless figures waving on the shore at night. Some even claim to see bodies flying over the river. But I never believed such nonsense. I was known for being fearless. So I just kept paddling, the crescent moon reflecting on the eerily calm water. The frogs had gone silent, replaced by distant owl cries echoing like they came from the beyond. I had only gone a short way when suddenly, my torch blew out. I thought, strange, there's no wind, why'd it go out? Lost in thought, I didn't realize trouble was coming. I looked around, the darkness seemed even clearer without the torch. Silent was the only word to describe the atmosphere. I continued paddling, the water lapped softly against the boat. The last embers from the torch flickered like wandering souls dancing on the water. Plop, plop, plop. I froze. The sound, like someone swimming, echoed through the night. I gripped the paddle tightly, eyes scanning the direction of the sound. Near the nipa palms, the water churned violently. I couldn't see anything in the darkness, but I thought, could it be thieves stealing chickens or ducks? I grabbed my machete and slowly paddled toward it. When I was just a few meters away, the clouds moved, revealing the moonlight. What I saw froze me to the core, a pale, soaked face grinning wildly, its body bluish and shriveled, with a deep slit at the neck opening and closing eerily. I dropped the machete, nearly falling into the river. Its eyes pierced mine like an electric shock to my spine. Before I could react, it suddenly leapt onto the riverbank, climbed a tree with monkey-like agility, and sat swinging on a branch. It dangled, crawled back and forth, cackling like a vengeful spirit echoing in all directions. An owl nearby flapped away. I didn't dare look up anymore. It took me a long time to recover. My hands trembled as I gripped the paddle, trying to row away. But no matter how hard I tried, the boat barely moved, inch by inch. Then, just as my boat reached the tree branch, thud, a human head landed on the bow. Same sinister eyes. Same chilling laughter. It bounced once, twice, and then plop, vanished into the river. That was it. I lost all control. I spun the boat around and rowed with all my might toward home. I didn't dare look back or make a sound. My throat was tight with fear. But the nightmare had only just begun. When Uncle turned the boat around and fled, he suddenly heard something fall from above behind his back, with a loud splash. A bad feeling hit him, something terrible was about to happen. Sure enough, the sound of rushing water came from behind, getting closer. Uncle gasped and paddled furiously. Suddenly, he heard loud, constant banging from beneath the boat. Then, a bony hand reached up from the water, grabbing the side of the boat near his feet. Terrified, he grabbed the knife tucked under the boat's edge and slashed wildly at the fingers. Then, he dove into the river and swam straight to the shore, running for his life, crashing through the brush. When he finally got home, he collapsed on the ground, barely breathing like he was about to die. Auntie too was frantic, crying uncontrollably, afraid he had caught a deadly chill. It wasn't until the next morning that Uncle slowly regained consciousness and told Auntie Two everything. Her face went pale as death. She immediately called a traditional healer and even brought in a spirit medium to perform rituals. Uncle himself lay bedridden for a week before he could even sit up again. From that day on, he never dared to go near that river at night. If he went frog hunting, it was only with a group of people. Much later, he learned from Auntie Two that the spiritual master, Thay Nam, was truly a powerful man. When Uncle Tu Bien got to that part of the story, I couldn't help but interrupt. Wait, who's this Master Nam, Uncle? Oh, he's the spiritual master from over by the Lotus Pond Swamp. If you ask your dad, he probably knows him too. That guy's famous, though his methods are a bit strange. I nodded along, brushing it off, and Uncle Tu Bien continued. Your Aunt Tu had to go all the way out to the Lotus Pond Swamp just to convince him to come. That night, he asked her to buy a pig's head along with some other ritual offerings. Then, once it got dark, he paddled a boat out into the river all alone. He told your aunt not to let anyone follow him or go anywhere near the area. A few hours later, he came back and only said one thing to her, everything's taken care of. It's fine now. Then, calm as ever, he packed up his bag of tools and left into the night. And sure enough, the very next morning, I was able to sit up again. After hearing that, Quach slapped his thigh with a loud smack. Damn, that Master Nam guy must really be something, huh, Uncle Tu? Seeing the look of amazement on Quach's face, I almost burst out laughing but managed to hold it in. Uncle Tu just chuckled. If he wasn't the real deal, I'd probably be on an altar by now, getting incense burned in my name, certainly wouldn't be here telling you old ghost stories. Quach scratched his head and grinned, tapping the bamboo table lightly before suggesting excitedly. Uncle Tu, since the mood is right, and house home too, why don't we crack open a bottle and have a few drinks while swapping ghost stories? If you're up for it, I'll ask Aunt Hai to bring out some liquor and snacks. My treat. And after that, I'll share a strange story of my own. What do you say? As if he'd just been waiting for the suggestion, Uncle Tu laughed heartily and turned to me. What do you say, how? I hesitated a bit before replying. I'm not much of a drinker, Uncle. Maybe you and Quach can drink. I'll just sit and hang out. Oh, come on, what's a few drinks gonna do? It's not like some Frenchman or Westerners gonna drop dead over it. Besides, it's not every day Quach actually opens his wallet to treat anyone. And if your dad complains, just tell him I made you do it. Quach quickly cut in, a bit embarrassed. Uncle Tu, you make me sound so stingy. Truth be told, I had something important to take care of tomorrow, but Uncle Tu had already said so much that it felt rude to refuse. After a moment of thought, I figured a few drinks wouldn't hurt. So I agreed. Quach dashed off to get Aunt Hai to prepare the snacks and even brought them out himself. The food and drinks are ready, let's get started, Uncle Tu. Quach, all fired up, set the tone for our ghostly storytelling night. He poured a full glass and handed it to Uncle Tu. Uncle, you get the honor of the first toast. Just as Uncle Tu was about to drink, I quickly stopped him. Wait, Uncle Tu, can I borrow that glass for a second? You want to drink first to warm up, huh? Here, go ahead. Without explaining, I took the glass, stood up, and walked over to Aunt Hai's stand to ask for a few sticks of incense. Everyone looked puzzled as I lit the incense and let the smoke curl up into the night air. Then I walked over to the little earth god shrine under the tamarind tree and offered 3 sticks. I returned and placed 3 more incense sticks on the bamboo chair beside us. Then I lifted the glass and murmured a quiet prayer. On full moon nights, the gates open wide. Spirits return, wandering souls pass by. If you linger here tonight, please have a sip of wine. We chat and laugh. But only listen, don't touch. Don't tease, even if tempted. Don't lash out, even if angered. And remember, To the west, the earth god stands guard. To the east, the white tiger prowls. With this toast, I show respect. Spirits return, wandering souls pass by. When I finished, I poured the wine around the chair in a semicircle. Then I looked up, everyone was staring at me wide-eyed. Quach looked like he'd seen a ghost himself, his face pale as a banana leaf. He stammered. "What the hell was that? How?" "Wait, you're not saying you can see ghosts, are you? Have you seen something around here?" "Don't mess with me, man." Uncle Tu added. "What were you praying just now? How?" I quickly waved my hands to calm everyone down. No, it's not like that at all. I just heard from the old folks that even when we eat or drink, we should be mindful and respectful, whether it's toward the living or the dead. As for the prayer, it just came out on a whim. Nothing to worry about." Quach exhaled in relief. "Damn you, man. You nearly scared me to death. I thought some spirit had taken over you or something." I chuckled and poured another drink for Uncle Tuesday. He downed it in one gulp with a satisfied ah, and Quach, clearly eager, didn't wait for me. He grabbed the bottle and poured himself a brimming glass, then chugged it down too. The strong rice wine, mixed with the savory aroma of Aunt Hi's pork stew, almost made me tipsy before I even took a sip. I smiled quietly, thinking, how many times in life do we get to sit like this, uncles and nephews, gathered together to share stories? Might as well enjoy it. I raised my glass and drank, grimacing as if I had just bitten into a chili pepper. Uncle Tu and Quach burst into laughter, teasing me, but I didn't mind. I could feel the warmth spreading from my throat to my stomach. The bitterness faded, leaving behind a faint sweetness of rice and the warmth of the alcohol. My tongue tingled a little. It had been a long time since I last drank, probably since graduation, when I said goodbye to my closest friends. I looked up, raised my chin, and let out a long, exaggerated out like a seasoned drinker. Both Uncle Tu and Quach were stunned for a second, then burst out laughing together. Uncle Tu, still laughing, said, "What, one glass and you're drunk already, kid?" I scratched my head and replied, "Told you, I'm a lightweight. All right, time to get back to our late-night ghost stories." He turned to Quach. "Quach, earlier you said you wanted to share a ghost story, right? Well, now's the time." Quach nodded and lowered his voice. "Yeah, here's how it went. Wait, let me take another sip to steady myself first." He shuddered slightly as he took another drink, still holding the glass in hand. The smile faded from his face. His eyes turned distant and sad. From the look on his face, I could tell, this must have been something that really happened to him. He sighed and began to recall. "You might not believe it, but this story truly happened. And I was the one who triggered all the misfortunes I'm about to tell. I've always carried guilt about it, and to this day, I still hate that thing with all my heart. Uncle Tu, I'm sure you remember my wife, man. A year after we got married, we had our son, Siuli. I was overjoyed. I told Min that when he got older, I'd teach him everything I knew, even though, let's be honest, I'm dumb as a rock." Quach gave a dry chuckle before continuing. "When he turned 3, I thought everything would finally settle down like you said. But then, that fateful day arrived. That day, Mr. Ben, the village head, was harvesting fish and dropped by my house to ask if I could help. He also wanted me to dredge his fish pond so he could release a new batch. At first, I hesitated. I didn't want to go. You know how much I can't stand that man. You know he's known for being stingy and difficult. But he promised a high wage, so I agreed. So, he took me on his old bicycle, riding through the muddy paths of the wetlands. At one point, we even had to carry the bike across several rice paddies before we reached his place. That was the first time I had ever been to Ba Ben's house. From a distance, it looked quite well kept and proper. But I still felt something strange and suffocating about it. He took me straight to the back of the house, and his pregnant second wife followed us. Once we were outside, he pointed to the pond and said, "There, can you help me out? I already left the cooler pump over there. Just pump out the water, catch all the fish, and dredge the pond for me, all right? I need to go to the market for a bit. I'll be back soon." I was surprised and asked, "Wait, just me? Didn't you call anyone else to help? That pond's huge, how am I supposed to handle it alone?" I tried, but everyone's busy today. You gotta help me out, all right?" And just like that, he turned and left without waiting for my reply. I had no choice but to grit my teeth and accept it. I should have known better. The only reason he offered good pay was because he wanted me to do everything by myself. Honestly, even 2 full days of pay wouldn't cover what he was asking. I looked at the pond and let out a sigh. The vegetation around it was so overgrown, I had to clear it all out before I could even start. I got the cooler pump going and took my machete to chop the bushes for half the day until the water finally drained out. But when I peeked into the pond, my God, there were no fish. Just bones, fish bones, scattered across the entire bottom. I was still wondering what the hell had happened when Bob Ben came back. He was just as shocked as I was, rushing over to me. "What happened to my fish, Quatch? I should be asking you that. I'd really like to know. Maybe someone hates your guts and poisoned your pond?" "No way. I live righteously, I've never offended anyone. Besides, I've heard the fish feeding at night behind the house. Even if they were poisoned, they just float up dead. But this? Bones? Just bones? It doesn't make sense." I replied, "Well, whatever. I don't care. Are we dredging this pond or not? If not, pay me and I'll be on my way." "Of course we're dredging it, what else?" He stomped off angrily, and I had to get back to work. I rolled up my pants and waded into the muck. The mud was so deep it reached my waist. The stench, probably from the dead fish, was so foul I nearly threw up. I grabbed a bucket and started scooping mud up to the shore, one load after another. The sun was already leaning west when I forced myself to scoop a few more times to finish the job. Then, when I thrust the bucket down, I heard a clunk. I paused, then reached deep into the thick, reeking mud. And you'll never guess what I pulled out, a human arm bone. I was so terrified I fell backward, my face drained of all color. It took me a long while to steady myself. I was just about to call out to Bob Ben to tell him, but I froze. Something on that bone caught my eye. It looked like something was on it. With shaking hands, I picked it up and carefully wiped away the mud, and there it was, a beautiful golden bracelet. So it was a woman had died in that pond. Now that I tell this part, I feel ashamed of myself. Quatch fell silent. He poured another glass of liquor and handed it to me. Lowering his head, his voice sank into remorse. Instead of reporting it to the police so they could uncover the truth, I gave in to greed. I took that bracelet and shoved the arm back into the mud. I pretended like nothing had happened. I went back to the house, collected my payment, and left. I rushed home to show it to Min. I planned to sell it and fix the leaking roof of our room. But Min said, "Honey, isn't this too heartless? I heard old folks say if you take something from the dead, they'll follow you home." I sighed and told her, "Don't worry so much, love. Our roof is practically falling apart. Rainy season's almost here, and Lee is almost school age. How will we manage without money? But still, it'll be fine. I'll go to the county market tomorrow and sell it. You stay home with the kid. Wait, maybe we should just keep it for now. Only sell it when we really need to." I thought it over, then said, "All right. We'll do it your way." So my wife hid the bracelet in the inner room, and I got back to my daily work.